Hello again, welcome to Tech of the Day. Today we're going to talk about virtual machines, and this video is specially designed for AZ-203 or AZ-204. These both certifications are similar with a little bit difference, and both contains virtual machines. Let's go. So in this topic, we're gonna provision virtual machines, configure virtual machines, and create Microsoft Azure Resource Manager templates, and then configure Azure Disk Encryption for virtual machines. To provision virtual machines, you have many ways, and this is the lesson first. We're going to talk about provisioning virtual machines. For that, you need a checklist. So before you create any virtual machine, you should have this checklist done. What will be your network configuration, virtual machine name, location, size, pricing model, storage, and operating system. You can decide all these factors according to your demand or your requirements. How to name? So the second one was name a VM virtual machine. The VM name is used as a computer name which is configured as part of the operating system. The rule is up to 15 characters for the Windows virtual machine and up to 64 characters for the Linux virtual machine. You can have any name, but it has these two limitations. For Windows 15 characters and for Linux 64 characters. To name, you can have the environment. You can add environment before the name. Let's say dev, production, QA, which identify the environment. Then location, you can add the location. You can add the instance 01, 02, product or service, and then role. What this virtual machine is doing. You have a virtual machine pricing model. Two primary costs for every virtual machine. First is storage and second is compute. The cost of storing data in every virtual hard disk. The cost is independent of whether the virtual machine is running or not. If you shut down your virtual machine, you still pay for the storage. So it doesn't matter if your virtual machine is running or not. The users-based price for compute capacity when the VM is currently allocated, and this is the actual price which we call virtual machine expenses because storage cost is not that much. You can store your virtual hard disk anywhere or it's really cheap, so it doesn't matter. You have two payment options, pay as you go and reserved instance. So compute capacity is billed and paid as it is used without a long-term commitment. And then reserved instance is pre-purchased at a reduced rate for anticipated users. That means if you can have up to 70% discount with this. So many big corporates, which they when they know what are their uses, what they need with this virtual machine, and how long they will need it, then they can easily decide and they can easily go with pre-purchased virtual machine. And for this one, you don't have to pay at once, but it's just you are making a contract for let's say 1 year or 3 years and telling them that you're gonna stay with them for 1 year or 3 years and you pay per month still. You have for storage options, because every virtual machine needs a storage to run its jobs. Virtual disk can be backed by other standard or premium storage accounts. Azure Premium Storage leverages solid-state drives (SSDs) to enable high performance and low latency for VMs running input-output intensive workloads. So depending on your users, what do you need for your, depending on your requirements, you can have a storage account, sorry, storage for your virtual machine. You can choose either managed or unmanaged disks. We will talk about them later. So what is managed disk? The Azure platform manages the disk and backing storage. You don't have to worry about storage account limits and threshold. So it's scalable. You don't have to pre-configure that how much you need, but it can scale up, scale down automatically, and you don't have to worry about storage thresholds. So this is managed by Azure. And unmanaged disks. You manually create and manage virtual hard disks in your storage account. You will need to consider account throughput and capacity limits when using this model. And you need to do all the maintenance for this unmanaged disk because Azure doesn't manage this. So you can create a virtual machine using 4 5 um, methods. First is Azure Portal, which is browser-based user interface. With that, you can create a Azure Virtual Machine. Then you have Azure Resource Manager, which you have an ARM template, and using that you can deploy a virtual machine. Third is Azure PowerShell, which is PowerShell command line, which you can use to deploy a virtual machine, create and deploy a virtual machine. You can even manage. And then you have Azure CLI, which is cross-platform command line tool for managing and deploying Azure resources. And the fifth one is programmatic, using the APIs. You can do it using C Sharp, .NET Core, whatever, with your programming language, and you can achieve that. In this module, we will cover Azure Portal, we will cover Azure PowerShell, and Azure CLI and PowerShell are almost the same except their syntax for the commands. So we will cover Azure PowerShell in this one. I'm not sure about covering with the C Sharp, but let's see if we have time. So creating Azure virtual machine using the Azure portal. I will create a real virtual machine for you using the portal. Let's go to the portal. I have this subscription for me on my Sharma NK366 at gmail.com, and this account contains Azure Pass subscription, which is from a training, so it's free. I don't have to pay for it, and I have nothing in my resource groups, so I have nothing. Everything is empty. So let's go. Before going, I hope you all know all these terms. What is resource? What is resource group? What is virtual machine? And if you don't know, then I will suggest you to go to my other videos for Azure fundamentals, which covers the basic definitions about all the Azure products. So because this is 203, which means you are a developer, Azure Cloud Solution developers. So if you don't know the basic terms, you should watch my previous videos related to Azure fundamentals. So I assume you know all the terms. Let's go. Let's create a resource. Here I see many possibilities, so I would go with the compute, and then I will select virtual machine. Let's go. Here you have all the steps you will need to do. Let's say basic, disk, networking, management, advanced, tax, review, and create. So these are all the steps you need to do, or you can just create actually, but then you will have default. Um, but at least these uh, you need at least this thing, these things, at least to configure. You need to configure at least these things: name, location, size, pricing model, storage, and operating system. So you need to do at least this thing. So let's go. Subscription. I'm going to take my free subscription, which is there. But if you have other subscriptions, you will see them here. And one important thing, you every time you will need a resource group. So I don't have any resource group, so I need to create new. I would name it AZ-203 module 01. Then I can delete this right away when I'm done with this video. So I don't care. Now I need a virtual machine name. And for name, virtual machines in Azure have two distinct names: virtual machine name used as the resource identifier, and in guest host name. When you create a VM in the portal, the same name is used for VM name and the host name. The virtual machine name cannot be changed after the VM is created. You can change the host name when you log into the virtual machine. So the same name is used for the host name as well, but later on you can change the host name but not the virtual machine name. And for naming convention, we saw that for Windows you have 15 characters, for Linux you have 64 characters. You can add the location you want to add. You can add if it's a production, if it's a dev or whatever. So I would say AZ-203 VM1, better 01. And then the region. I am based in Europe, so I would go with the North Europe. Let's go. Availability options. So you can create a virtual machine using availability zone, virtual machine skill set, availability set. We will talk about this later, so I'm not gonna select any of this because you can create a virtual machine with this virtual skill set, which means you're gonna create two or three virtual machines with the same instance. And this is a separate topic, so we will talk about it later. Then what image you need? You have all the images here. I would go with the Windows, yeah, and data center 19. Now you see the pricing, standard pricing for the size. This is select a VM size to support workload that you want to run. The size that you choose then determines factors such as processing power, memory, and storage capacity. Azure offers a wide variety of size, support, and types of uses. So you can change your size here, but keep in mind that you need to select which can the VM size which can support your workload. So many people, you really need to think about it even before beginning, because you need to know how much your load will be, how much CPUs you need, how much RAM you need, how much data disks you need, temporary storage, and premium disk support. I think this one you can still think later, but at least you need to think about these things in advance. So if you go with this one I don't think it's gonna work because the RAM is already 0.5 giga GB, which is really less, I guess, for this one. But many people select this. Maybe they don't need to do anything. Yeah, but I will go with with this one, which is 61 euros per month estimated cost. Okay, I don't care. I will just delete it right after the video, so I won't have that much cost. I can also, I think these two should be enough for your users, depending if you really need a high RAM or VCUs or not. But this should work. Okay, so I will select this one. Now let's configure administrator account. You need to, it has some requirements. Username cannot contain special characters, and username must not include reserved words, and the value must be between 1 to 20 characters. So I will simply name it admin VM01. You need to remember this to access your VM later on. So I will just go with the username, and then you need a password. Same password must have at least three of the following: one lowercase, one uppercase character, and one number and one special character. Password must not include reserved words, unsupported characters. Password must be 12 to 123 characters long. So I would go very good one. Pass, 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 dollar, pass, word, 1, 2, 3. Mm, pass, pass, word, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pass, word, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, not matching. Okay, pass, word, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pass, word, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I need to note it down. I might forget it. Pass, word, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you need inbound port rules. So this is you need to configure your inbound port rules for your virtual machine, how you would like to connect to it. And if you say public inbound ports none, then you can, how will you manage it? So by default, access to the virtual machine is restricted to resources in the same virtual network and traffic from the Azure load balancing solution. Select none to confirm, or choose to allow traffic from the public internet to one of these common ports. So if you select none, then you don't have public access. If you allow selected ports, Then you can choose what you want, and then you can have RDP, you can have HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. So I'm just going to do it using RDP. You can save money if you already have Windows Server license, but if you don't, then I'm not gonna use mine, so I'm just going to say no. Then you need to select the disk, storage disk option for your OS, and by default it selects the expensive one, premium SSD. Sometimes you don't need it. I'm going with standard HDD, and then it gives me warning, but I don't care. The selected VM size supports premium disk. We recommend premium SSD for high IOPS workloads. Virtual machines with premium SSD disks qualify for the 99.9% connectivity SLA. But I don't care for the SLA for this one, so I can continue with the standard HDD. And then again go to next networking. For the networking, it by default it creates for me a VNet, virtual network, for my VM, and it creates subnet, new default subnet like this, and it creates for me a new public IP like this. If I want, I can say none. I can create new VNet, but I think it's okay. It just by default puts a hyphen VNet and creates a default subnet. So I don't care for this one. And to access to this public inbound ports, I already selected RDP, so I have RDP here. By default, access to virtual machine is restricted to the sources in the same virtual network and traffic from Azure load balancing solutions. So it is inheriting the same rule I added in the basic, because this is here we are creating a virtual network which can have its own rules. But if you say none, then you're not gonna access your virtual machine with public network. So you can have a load balancing. If you have multiple virtual machines, you can have load balancing. I don't need that. So boot diagnostic, OS guest diagnostic storage account. I don't mind creating it. Identity, system assigned managed identity off, auto shutdown off, backup off. I would say auto shutdown enable, and then I can say after what time. So time zone, I can say after 7 p.m. UTC. I want to shut down my VM, and it will send me notification. I can say no, I don't want to receive any notification, and it will auto shut down my VM after 7 p.m. Let's go to advanced. Now if I want to put any host group, VM generation, what I want, your choice to create a generation 1 or generation 2 VM depends on which guest operating system and the boot method you want to use to deploy the virtual machine. Generation 1 virtual machine supports the most guest operating systems. Generation 2 virtual machines support most 64-bit version of Windows and more current version of Linux and free BSD operating systems. You can choose whichever you want. I don't care. I go to tags, and I can add tag or not. For this one I don't need actually, but I can create tags to identify for my billings. Now I just need to review and create, so it will validate my virtual machine. If everything is okay, and I see here validation passed, and I have costs 0.0837 euro per hour. I don't think it's too much. I see all the configuration. Now I just create it. I have to wait for some time because it is just creating a VM for me and it takes some time. It's not only VM, it also creates a storage account, it also creates VNet, and yeah, so it has many operations here. So you see Microsoft, it created VNet, it created IP for me, it created NSG, which is also important. It is kind of a security group, a network security group, which gives you some rules. I'll show you how you can change those rules, how you can configure it later on. But you can go one by one and create them. Change them and add or delete some rules, add more rules. It totally depends on your users what you want. We are almost done. It is creating virtual machine now, and let's see. It will take some time. You have the notification here, and deployment is in progress. Already a minute. It takes some time. Okay. By that time, I just want to show you. You also have Cloud Cell here, Azure Cloud Cell. You can just click here, and you get it here. And what it will do, it simply says Azure Cloud Cell requires an Azure file share to persist files, because you simply creating a space where you can run your query, your commands. So you need a storage account for this, and it says create a storage. It will create a storage account for me. It is already taken. Oops, I need to see the advanced settings. I can name it Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell storage and file share. Anyway, I don't know why it's saying something. Okay, our virtual machine is created now. Now we can go to resource, and it has nothing till now, no users, because we didn't use it. We don't have anything here. But if we go just one by one, here you see all these things. It says name, status running, location. You can change the subscription later on if you want, and then you can add some more tags. Your public IP address is this one, and yeah, all this. You have virtual network with this one. So you can stop it, restart, or connect. To connect, you have the configuration here. You see RDP, and it will tell you the configuration. What is the configuration for this? So you need to use this public address and this port number, and you can download the RDP file here, and by simply clicking on this one, I can connect to this username. and password. Very nice way to keep your password secure like this. I would not recommend you to write down somewhere like this. And yes, so I am, it is just configuring me and I am connected to my virtual machine now. Please wait, it will take some time to configure me there, because I'm logging in first time, so it will just configure me. And my virtual machine is almost ready. Till then, let's continue here. So I can connect to it, and I can see my activity log. What did I do? Nothing, just one activity, create or update. Then third one, access control. This is really important one. You can really add role assignments here, grant access to resources that at this scope by assigning a role to a user, group, service, principal, or managed identity. You can do anything here actually. You can add, sorry, not anything. You can add anyone here to assign role on this one. So if you just say select a role, I want to make a contributor someone and assign access to Azure AD as user group or service principal. I can say app service. I can, so this is user Azure AD service principal, and this is system assign managed identity. So I can assign access to any app service, container, data factory function, whatever. I mean, I can give access to any of my other resources that can access this virtual machine directly, and then I don't need to give the access for the public network, but I'm just giving the access to one of my service uh, to one of my resources here. So it's really nice, and it's really good feature. You can do it. Let's see if our virtual machine is ready. Yeah, it's ready, and it gives you the server dashboard first, as you see already in your normal virtual machines. And if you just do like this, you have your virtual machine desktop here. I have nothing here, no application running, nothing, but I can just add something here. I can just add any application. I can just host anything. I can do whatever I want. This is simply a virtual machine for me, and space in the space there. So now currently I'm using, so I should pay something actually. So I will just leave it like this. Let's see how much I pay. Then we go to this. So I used standard HDD, which gives me 127 giga of space, and I can add more disks. Yeah, if I need it, I don't care. Then I have the size which we selected, this one, and I can resize it accordingly if I really need to, but I don't care. Then security, we already know about it, I guess. It will just give us recommendations about the security. Extensions, do I need to install any extension? Yes, I can add any extension to my virtual machine. So which are like, it has a lot of available options if I need to install anything for my virtual machine. Azure pipeline agent, and then it's done. So I will have all this. Then continuous delivery, I can configure DevOps for this, for my application, and then I can simply um uh, publish and post applications to my virtual machine, and my applications will be ready to use. Configuration, availability, and scaling, we will talk about them later on because we will create a availability set and see that later on. Configuration, to you can save money if you have already license. We already talk about it. Identity, system assigned or user assigned. You can add any system assigned or user assigned identity, which we will talk about later as well. And you have all those options here: auto shutdown, backup, disaster recovery. You can configure your VM and according to your requirements. So this is about virtual machine using um, I'm gonna close it now. Virtual machine using Azure portal. You can also create virtual machine using You can also create virtual machine using your Azure Cloud Cell, PowerShell, Azure CLI, Azure Cloud Cell here as well. So let's explore those options. Let's continue to our. We already talked about this. So let's create a virtual machine using PowerShell. What you need? Um, First, you need to connect to your Azure account using your PowerShell, and then you need to create a resource group with the location, and then you need to create a virtual machine with this resource group, name of the virtual machine, location. It is the same as your resource group, virtual network, the subnet, security group name, public address name, and open ports. I am opening it to HTTP and RDP. So simple rule, it will create a virtual machine for me. Let's do it. Um, okay, I'll just go to open my PowerShell. So simply I need to connect to AZ account to pop up me for the login and passwords. It will take some time. Yeah, and asking me about my details. It will validate if this account even exists, and then it will ask me for the password. I forgot if I entered everything correctly or not. I'm authenticated now, and it is showing how many subscription I have, what is the subscription I do have, and yeah. So if I just do now new, I need to create a new resource group, new AZ AZ resource group. Then I need a name for this. VM01 PowerShell. Simple. And then I need to say location. And location must be really specific. So I will say east because these are the existing locations. So you should name them exactly. If I let me check, it is there is no space, so it should be like this. And let's see if it creates my resource group. A parameter cannot be found that matches parameter name. Oh, mistake. Typos. You always do that. Okay, it created a resource group name for me. Now I can use this resource group name to create my new virtual machine. So new AZ VM, and then I need to say resource group name, and my resource group name, it was VM01 PowerShell, and name of my VM. So name, PowerShell VM. No, I will say AZ1 because it is for AZ-203, AZ-203 VM02. We already have AZ-203 VM1 with Azure portal, and I need a location. So location, and I need to say EAST East US, and I need a virtual network name, virtual network name, my VM, my VNet, PowerShell. Security group name, subnet name. So I need all these things. Subnet name. I will just name them my subnet. And then security group name, security group name, my VNet security group, and then I need a subnet name, my subnet, security group name, and public IP address name. I'm just writing that thing again. Public IP address name, my public IP, and then I'm saying open ports are 80 and 3389, which is HTTP and RDP. I think I forgot here to put dash first. Okay, let's see if everything is fine. It should create a VM for me, and now it is asking me for the administrator log username and password. I will say admin VM02 and the same thing, password 1234. I have some error. Let's see what happened. What happened? New AZ. I'm just checking if everything is correct. Resource group name, VM power 01 name, location East US virtual network name, my VNet PowerShell subnet name, my subnet, security group name, my VNet security group, public IP address, my public IP, open ports, this one. Okay, let's go again. It is asking me again for the same thing, admin VM 02. I'll say the same thing, password 12345. It is creating. So there was password limitation problem. I think I did not comply with the password rules which we had recently. So it is just creating a virtual machine for me. Until then, let's go here. Okay, I'm back now. So let's see my resources, all resources I have. Okay, these are I think related to the previous one we created. So you see resource group, this one, and I have one resource group only here. Sorry, these are the created later on. So yeah, you see here, you see it just created East US PowerShell VM, which is new resource group. These are created automatically, network watcher for you by Azure, and this was cloud cell storage created. Okay, that's it, I guess, for this one, and we will keep refreshing because it will take some time. Let's see, it's 42% created. If we go to this resource group, we will see all the resources it is creating. So it has created virtual machine, network interface. It has created a disk for me. It has created my public IP, which I gave a name, my VNet, PowerShell, virtual network, and my network security. So I have all those things now. Let us see if it has finished. Yeah, it has finished, and it has created in this resource group name, which I am already in. And that's it. My virtual machine is done. Later on, I need to delete all these resources so that I don't pay anything for them. So I'll just delete them one by one. Delete resource group. I'll need to put my name, sorry, its name here, and it will delete. Now I need to delete this one as well. It doesn't cost anything, but I'm just deleting it. I don't care. There's nothing in it, so I won't be paying that much, but okay. I want to create everything again. My Azure portal will be busy a little bit for some time because it has to delete all the resources it just created, and it should now I'm just deleting everything, so it will be busy. I don't care. And it's done. Okay, let's go back to my. So we created a virtual machine using the portal, and we created virtual machine using the PowerShell. Now we need to access our virtual machine using PowerShell. Um, how you can do it? Uh, so you just need to get the public IP address for your resource group, and yeah, it's just asking you to do that thing. Um, with this mstscv public address, which you will get from here, and you need to install Windows feature named as web server. We have already done that. Now capturing performance diagnostic for virtual machine. What happens? So you go to Azure portal, you go to virtual machine, and you can have your diagnostics for your virtual machines, and you can run some performance insight on that. We will check that later on. Then we will talk about it later as well. This is recovering a failed VM by using a rescue VM. So you have a failed VM, you can create a snapshot from this VM. Sorry, not create. You can use that snapshot from this VM, and you can rescue your VM here, and you can continue from the same spot. How we can do this? I will just show you in a little while. Lesson 2 is configuring VM, sizing a VM. We just talked about it, how you can, each VM size offers a variation of the following characters: processing power, memory, storage capacity. And based on your requirements, you can choose any subset of available VM sizes, which I just shown you. Uh, for this configuration options, you have different computational performance. You can choose how many virtual CPUs you want, from 1 to 128, and memory from 1 gigabyte till 4 terabyte. You can have a disk storage from 4 gigabyte to 64 gigabytes, up to 160,000 IOPS. It's just really too much. I don't think you'll need anytime this one, but if you do, then you can use it, but you will pay too much for this. Networking, you can have 30 giga of Ethernet to 100 GB of InfiniBand. This is again too much. You can, for availability, single VM service level agreements, SLA 99.9%, and multi AZ SLAs are 99.99%. So what is this? I will just show you in a while. Is it means if you have a single virtual machine, then your service level agreement is 99.9% only, and if you have a availability set, which means like you have multiple instance of your virtual machine running, if one fails, then another one can replace that virtual machine, and in that case your SLA is 99.99%. You have different type of virtual machine categories: entry level, bus stable, general purpose, compute intensive, memory optimized, GPU accelerated, high performance computing, storage optimized. This all totally depends on your users, your requirements. So if you are just simply going to if you are just simply exploring virtual machine, you can just go with the entry level. But if you are using some data compute or data mining or some AI or machine learning thing, you can use GPU accelerated or compute intensive or high performance computing. You can use any of them. In these, if you see here, general purpose, you just have balanced CPUs to memory ratio, ideal for testing development, small to medium databases, and low to medium traffic web servers. So just for testing purpose, I think you can use it. Compute optimized. These VMs are specifically designed for computational power, so you have CPU to memory ratio accordingly and suitable for medium traffic web servers, network appliances, and batch processes. Memory optimized are designed to have high memory to CPU ratio and great for relation RDBMS servers and medium to large cache and in-memory analytics. Storage optimized, which is high disk throughput and input-output, ideal for running VM running databases. GPU are specially designed for heavy graphics rendering and video editing devices. These VMs are ideal for model training and inferencing with deep learning, so which is AI and machine learning. High performance compute is the most powerful CPU virtual machine with high throughput network interfaces. Manage the availability of your virtual machine. So now we are talking about availability sets, high availability, and scalability. Is the percentage of time a service is available for use in the event of a physical failure within the Azure data center. Azure will move the VM to a healthy host server automatically, self-healing, which is called. Migration could take place several minutes. If your VM is isolated to a single instance, the application hosted on VM will not be available. So during this process, your application will not be available because you had only one virtual machine. VMs could also be affected by periodic updates initiated by Azure itself. So you have to manage this thing as well. Azure will send you notifications about updates, and you need to think about them in advance. High availability and disaster recovery. So you have higher latency, and here you have increased resiliency. Increased resiliency means high availability, and you can easily recover from the disaster. So you have availability set, which is also called virtual machine skill sets. You have availability zone, and then you have region pairs. So this is basic. You can have uh, as many as virtual machines you want. Protection against failures within data centers. So within data center, you can have multiple virtual machines hosted, and if one machine fails, you can have another machine up and running for you, but within data center. And if a data center itself fails, then you have availability zone. So three data centers makes one availability zone. So if one of them fails, then other two will take over the load. What if a whole availability zone fails? Then you can combine two regions. So this is like highly available and highly disaster resilient uh, combination. Availability sets, we will just create virtual machine availability set. Logical feature used to ensure that a group of related VMs are deployed so that they are not all subject to single physical point of failure. Obviously, you have more than two virtual machines, so you can easily uh, recover or divert your traffic in case of failure, one virtual machine failure. They are not they are not all upgraded at the same time, which is another feature, because if you have updates coming up and if you have only one virtual machine, then that's for sure that your system will be down for some moment, for some time. Update domain. You can create update domains, a logical group of hardware that can undergo a maintenance update at the same time. So you can create, let's say, four virtual machine which will be updated at this time, and four other will be updated at that time. And when these four are on are under update, the other four will take over. Then you have fault domain. This is really interesting. You create a fault domain depending on your requirements, but a logical group of hardware in Azure that shares a common power source and network switch. So you need to create fault domains accordingly. If in a data center, if one group of logical unit fails, and if you have all the resources in the logical same logical group, then even having two three virtual machines doesn't make sense, because all the virtual machines are gone. So you need to create virtual machines according with the fault domain, so that one virtual machine, if one logical group fails, even then you still have other available virtual machines. You can create an image in Azure, into following categories: publisher, offer, SKUs, and version. You can create a image of your virtual machine, and you get the virtual machine image. And these images are um, these are the publishers and numbers. So this is really difficult to know. um, with these numbers, obviously not easy to read and not easy to understand. But you see all the versions of 2016 data center core, data centers with containers, data center core, and even these have these image names. But you just select default ones, and then it will give you the most used image. You can choose, of course, the source, Ubuntu or whatever, and then URN, uniform resource name, shorthand string to quickly access a known VM image format. Publisher, who is the publisher, then offer, Windows Server or Ubuntu Server, then SKU, which one, 2019 data center or 19.10 daily, and then version. This is the version. So you to get your image, you can write down like this: Microsoft Windows Server, as then Windows Server 2019 data center, and then version. Finding image sources by using Azure CLI. This is not Azure PowerShell, this is CLI, so you will see the commands different here. Get a list of all publishers available in the East US region. What you do, you just list the publishers in the location, and you have the publishers here. Then you have List of all offers for the Microsoft Windows Server publisher. Then you can filter location East US publisher Microsoft Windows Server. Then get the SKUs for the Windows Server offer. Then offer Windows Server and list SKUs. Here you got the offers. Then you get the SKUs. Get a list of all images available for 2019 data center SKU. Now you got one more deep level. List all locations. List all in the location East US and publisher this one of for Windows Server SKU 2019 data center, and then you will have all the versions available. Same thing you can do with the PowerShell. Get AZ VM image publisher, get AZ VM image offer, get AZ VM image SKU, and get AZ VM image. But then you just keep adding the names. So here you just add the location, location publisher name offer, location publisher name offer, and SKU. You can have an Azure shared image gallery which you can use for multiple virtual machines. Provide a global replication, versioning, grouping, high availability, image sharing across subscriptions, image replicas. So let's say you have a specific virtual machine and you don't want to go through all the steps you did for one virtual machine. You can create an image out of it and create a shared image which everyone can use from it. This is really useful for the organizations, for the big organizations where multiple groups need the same basic virtual machine, and then they can carry forward from there. Console access to virtual machine independent of network or OS status. You can just access the virtual machine from console. Now, lesson 3, create Azure Resource Manager templates. But before that, let me just show you all these things we discussed for the virtual machine. I'll just show you. I think I have just deleted all the resource groups. Yes, I have virtual machine PowerShell. I think it's still going on, so I think I can still access this. But okay, it's in process. It is going to delete it as well. Okay, anyway, we already discussed actually about it. I shown you everything um, about virtual machine, so it's okay. Now, now create Azure Resource Manager templates. What is Azure ARM template? ARM template you can easily use for the consistency across your resources you want to create and across your subscription. You can easily download the ARM template from the portal, and you can use that ARM template using command line, or you can use that ARM template even in Visual Studio to create the same type of resources you have already created. You can use REST API, Azure Portal, Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, Client SDK. Terminology for this resource: single manageable item available through Azure. So ARM template can contain multiple resources, and in that template, you have a resource which contains its name, its definition, and then resource group. Which resource group it is related? It should be related to resource provider, service that supplies resource and instance in accordance with the predefined contract, and then all these things are in resource manager template JSON file, which is uh, specifying the resource providers to be deployed to a resource group. So the ARM template looks like this. So you have resources. In this, you have API version. This type of resources is storage account. And name is my storage account. Location West US. SKU standard LRS. Local redundancy kind is storage. And you use this API with this request body, and you get it. So you send sorry, uh, I'm sneezing. It. I hope it's not corona. Resource groups, resource group name, providers, Microsoft storage, Microsoft.storage, storage accounts, my storage account API version this. So you put this and you with this body, and you easily get a storage account with this ARM template. So three-tier resource ARM template through a single resource manager template. You can create a three-tier application which uses app service, SQL database, and virtual machine. And you can do all this in using a simple ARM template. You can have nested templates deploying a similar three-tier application, which means you have a specific ARM template for this, and one for this. And previous one template was doing the all the steps, depending how you want to do it. You can simply create a ARM template using the existing resources, and you can go to settings, automation script, and then you can create a ARM template here, and you can just simply get the resource, and in the template you will have all this. So it will just give you the exact copy settings of selected resource. To create a ARM template using the Azure top portal, yeah, for that I have to create a resource first. Let's go. Let's say I'm just creating a resource which will be really quick. Compute. Let's go with again with the virtual machine. And here I'm gonna create new one. AZ-203 VM 1 RG. Okay, and virtual machine name VM 01 Central US. I don't care. I want to US. No, I want Windows Server. I love Windows. And then username and password. Admin VM 01 and password password 1234. Then password 1234. Okay, and then review and create. I'm just going to create it. It will give me all these default settings. I don't care. I just want to show you how it is going to look like. You see, it is more expensive than I created previously because I just took default settings. So it gives you the most expensive things. So don't do all the default things you have. That's why you need to explore every possibility in Azure so that you can gain something out of it. It's under deployment. So I am in the virtual machine one. I just the one I just created. In let's go to overview, and you see all the details here. This is the one I just created, and to get the ARM template, I need to go to settings and then in export template. In export template, I have this only one resource is there, and I get this template. So what it has actually saying this schema, which is from 2015, the same content version parameters, virtual machine VM1 name, default value this. You can change this value later on. External ID, default type. Here you see the resources. In the resources, you see Microsoft.compute virtual machines, API version 2019, and all the explanation about the virtual machine. Location, Central US, hardware size, standard DS1, V2, all the things you have in this virtual machine, you can find them here, and you can simply use that script. It's use that template and deploy. You can download this and then deploy this using Azure PowerShell, or other way you can also deploy using this one. Just click here, custom deploy, and then you you simply go to this one, and so you can just simply create a new resource group, AZ-203 ARM template, and you can just deploy using this template. You can just deploy I agree with the terms and conditions, and it will create the same virtual machine configuration what I just created, and it will create all the things for me. Validation successful, deployment is in process. So you see here, if I go to resource groups, you should see here I have three resource groups. One which I just created a resource group for the previous virtual machine. Second resource group, I just created a new resource group from this one and deployed this virtual machine directly use in this one. A network watcher group which is created by default. Let's go to this one. What it has, it's just in process, so it has nothing yet, and it has all these things. If we go to all resources, we have these resources. So simply you can just create the ARM template and deploy that using Azure portal. To create ARM template using Azure CLI, you can also choose this option, and with these command lines, AZ group create. You also have you can also create ARM template with Visual Studio. I will cover this in a specific separate video, because this ARM template, creating ARM templates using different providers, is should be a separate topic. It's a little bit big, and if I will cover them here, it's not fair. The fourth module in this one is Azure Disk Encryption for virtual machines. So in this lesson, you should learn encryption options for protecting VM virtual machines, is encrypting existing virtual machines, automating secure VM deployments by using ARM templates. Encryption options for protecting virtual machines. Encryption converts meaningful information into something that appears meaningless, such as a random sequence of letters and numbers. The process of encryption uses some form of key as part of the algorithm that creates the encrypted data. A key is also needed to perform the decryption. Key may be symmetric, where the same key is used for encryption, and decryption may be asymmetric, where the different keys are used. As an example of later is the public-private key pairs used in the digital certificates, and symmetric, a single key is used the for, for encryption and decryption. Algorithms that use the symmetric keys, such as advanced encryption standard, are typically faster than public key algorithms and are often used for protecting large data stores. Because there is only one key, procedures must be in place to prevent the key from becoming publicly known. And for the asymmetric encryption, it use a pair of public-private keys, which makes it a bit slower, so it cannot be used to encrypt the large amount of data. To manage the key can be managed by Azure or managed manually by you. Managed disk protection technologies for virtual machines are storage service encryption and Azure disk encryption. Key management: in Azure, your encryption key can be managed by Microsoft or the customer. Often the demand for customer managed key comes from organizations that need to demonstrate compliance with HIPAA or other regulations. Such compliance may require that access to keys is logged and that regular key changes are made and recorded. So this can be managed by Azure and often preferred by the big companies. Storage service encryption. Azure Service Encryption is an encryption service built into Azure used to protect data at rest. The storage platform automatically encrypts data before it is stored to several storage services, including Azure Managed Disks. Encryption is enabled by default by using 256-bit AES encryption and managed by the storage account administrator. Azure Disk Encryption is managed by the VM virtual machine owner. It controls the encryption of Windows and Linux VM control disk by using BitLocker on Windows virtual machines and decrypt on Linux VMs. BitLocker Drive encryption is a data protection feature that integrates with the operating system and addresses the threats of data theft or exposure from lost, stolen, or inappropriately decommissioned computers. Similarly, dmcrypt encrypts data at rest for Linux uh, before writing to storage. So you can have the data encryption using different available options. You need to create Azure Key Vault. How to create Azure Key Vault using PowerShell? New AZ Key Vault and then location. You need to set the location. Resource group name. You need to have the resource group name and vault name and enabled for disk encryption. Let's do it using. Let's create a key vault using PowerShell. So new AZ key vault location is EASTUS. Then resource group name. Resource group name needed resource group, and I should have created resource group first, but let me check what resource group I have already so that I don't have to. Okay, I'm gonna write it in AZ-203 ARM template. Okay, and then you have a vault name, which is, let's say, my AZ-203 key vault. And then you have enabled for description, enabled for disk encryption, and then go. Typos again. Enabled. Okay, again I have a problem. The name my AZ-203 vault is already is in use, so I need to have a specific key vault name because this can be accessed by public network as well, so it should be specific. And let's do that up. Let's just put my name in the end, and I guess it will be specific now. Okay, let's see why it is taking so much time. Let's go to this one. Let's see Azure template. Nothing is there yet. Okay, the key vault is created. and you need to have a unique name because it is accessible by the public network, so it's not locally unique, but it should be globally unique because it's key vault name dot vault dot azure dot net, and you can directly access it. So now you can simply hold your key secret certificates, and you can also give access to someone or some other application on this key vault by using this add role, and then you can give a contributor, reader, key vault contributor, whatever type of role you want to give, like let's say reader role, and then I can select anyone with the email or something, and then they will get the access uh, to this key vault. Okay, that's all. Yeah, it's done as well. This here. Let's go back. So we created a Azure key vault using a PowerShell. We're not gonna create it again using CLI. It's the same thing, but it's just the script is different. Here it says Azure key vault create and name, same thing but with two dashes. If you notice the difference, two dash, and here it is AZ key vault create. So the verb come in the end, and here it comes like new. So instead of create, it says new AZ key vault, and then the parameters. But in CLI, the verb comes late, and then you say in the beginning what AZ, then what key vault, and then what action create. And in the PowerShell, it comes in the beginning new, and then AZ key vault directly in a single word, and then the parameters. So that's the only difference you have. You can encrypt existing virtual machines in the portal, simply going to uh, the encryption. We're not gonna do that. And you can configure key vault, Azure key vault, to encrypt virtual machines. Access to keys you can use, as I said here. If you create a key here and you want to give access to these keys, so you can add someone here, access control, and add in the add role assignment, and then they can directly access, that application can directly access these keys or secrets directly. So this is what they meant actually. You can encrypt using Azure CLI. You can update. You can encryption enable. Same thing with the Azure PowerShell. And then in this module, what we did, we provisioned virtual machines, we configured virtual machines, we created Azure Resource Manager templates, and we configured Azure Disk Encryption for virtual machines. I hope you liked it, and in the next video I will continue with the AZ-203. So please stay tuned, and I hope you get your certificate, either AZ-203 or 204. This video covers both certifications. Thank you. See you. Bye.